Everybody, I'm Angry, so welcome back to another tier list on Gen 6. We're over halfway there now. Gen 6 is a considerably smaller region. This will probably go past very quick. It's going to be significantly harder to rank, purely because there's not going to be loads of mons that I would consider to be very viable. Regardless, this list is based on viability from the Pokemon inside of this region and outside of this region in terms of singles and doubles competitive viability. With that being said, we'll get on with the starters. Chestnut is A tier, I think, with its new Mega, depending on its ability. If it gets some like rough skin or some self-sufficient type of ability, it could be S tier, and it is a pretty solid pick as a defensive wall. So maybe I'll put it in S, but it's like the higher end of A for now. Delphox normally is like B tier because Delphox, in my opinion, does lack from a poor ability, has good stats, has good coverage or good enough coverage really. But I don't think that it's better than Chestnut. But with the Mega, I do think that it could be very viable, but then again, it's hard to tell. So I'll put it on like high end of A, but it's like low end of A. I mean, to be fair, in singles, Delphox still works really well with Terra. And it does have good setup. All in all, I do think Delphox is still very good. It doesn't have to rely on its ability. Greninja's S. Greninja's one of the most viable Pokemon, I think, so far in Kalos. With the Megas, it's great, but outside of the Megas, Protean Battle Bond, very good. It has incredible coverage. It has priority. You can run it mixed. It has setup. Also has hazards with like toxic spikes. Greninja's just great in my opinion. Diggersby is, I'd put like low B tier. It is still pretty good. It's kind of like an Azumarill. I do think Azumarill's better because of the typing. Even though normal ground you have 2 immunities, whereas you only have 1. With Azumarill, I think Azumarill does have a better moveset offensively. I think Diggersby is more used for like hazards and then with like normal facade and stuff, but obviously normal's not the best offensive type in the world. So I think B is fine. I definitely won't put it in A. But in doubles, it's just as good, I would say, as it is in singles. So Talonflame, if it was old Talonflame, it would definitely be S tier, but since it's nerf, I think it's gone down to like A tier. Obviously, Gale Wings now is, if you're at full health, then you have priority, which is still good because you can get Tailwinds off, you can get Stab Brave Birds off, you can get a couple of other things, but there isn't really as much utility to it as there was back then. I think you could just do it whenever, so that was good. But all in all, I still think Talonflame is decent, even though I hate Talonflame. I do not like Talonflame as a Pokemon. You can say what you want, it's just my opinion, I don't care. I don't like Talonflame, but it is still viable. I'll give it its credit. Vivillon, obviously there's no real reason to pick it. I mean, there's much better Quiver Dancers, there's much better Sleep Powder ones. It can work. It's not the ideal pick. Maybe you could argue it's like low C, but it's definitely between these two tiers. Pyroar is mid as fuck, I'll be honest. Even with its new Mega, depending on how good the ability is, it could save it. But Pyroar itself is mid as fuck. Mid stat distribution. I think it has a good ability. I feel like it has tough claws, but you have to build it specially. It's weird. I'm not the biggest fan. I like Pyroar as a Pokemon, but I'm not the biggest fan of using it. It just doesn't exceed anything. It's like a significantly worse Luxray. Then you got Florges. Florges is still very viable in my opinion. Special Wall. Again, one of those Pokemon that definitely could be viewed slightly lower down. Maybe it's like high end of B+, something like that. But it definitely is a good Special Wall. Has pretty shit coverage, I'll be honest. Kind of relies on Terra from that standpoint. But it does have reliable setup and recovery. But like, I do think the lack of coverage does kind of bring it down a little bit. So I think you could argue that Florges is like B, low A. Then you have Pangoro. In my opinion, Pangoro is also a bit too mid. Like, there's literally no real reason to pick Pangoro over some other offensive threats. He does have priority, and he has a relatively cool offensive type in Dark Fighting. But that doesn't mean it's a good one. Right, Dark Fighting is not the best type in the world. It's not awful. He just kind of lack the offensive stats to really just send in and get to doing good damage. It does require a bit of setup. So maybe you could say lower end of B, but in my opinion, he doesn't really exceed anything. Kind of like Pyroar, so he is just like high end of C. Then we've got Furfrou, which I can confidently say there's literally no real reason to pick this. I love Furfrou as a Pokemon. I think it's cool. All the little designs that it has. Obviously, this one is the best. But again, no real reason to pick. It doesn't exceed in any particular stats. It does have Fluffy, which is a good ability. Now, if all of these different forms have different abilities and they had stat distributions that were kind of revamped, maybe they could be picked. But as far as it goes for now, Furfrou is not viable. Then we have Meowstic. Now, the Meowstics I think are actually pretty good. I think generally they're good support ones. I mean, Meowstic male has Prankster. I'm not entirely sure what Meowstic female has. Meowstic female has competitive, which is, to be fair, significantly worse. Still a relatively good support mon. It's like a lower end of B, but then Meowstic A is like high end A, low end B. Taking into consideration the fact that Megas, obviously Meowstic has a Mega. Outside of Mega, it's still really good because Prankster, it still has Fake Out, it has like Thunderwave, it has Screens. It's a really good support mon. Pure Psychic's a bit of a meh typing, but it's still pretty viable. It's between there, but I think with the fact that it's Mega, obviously rumored to have Psychic Surge, which I kind of agree with, and it has Expanding Force, it's going to do a lot of damage, and with a relatively high speed stat, you can probably set up Screens, Mega Evolve, do significant damage, and not die. And that means it's going to be also really good in doubles as well as singles. So I do think Meowstic is like low end A, possibly higher. A/, obviously, S tier. I'd probably more viable than Greninja, I think, in some ways. It's an incredible wall. You do really good damage on the physical and special side, depending on how you build it. You just don't die. King Shield is broken. Silgos is an incredible typing, 3 immunities. I can't say much else. Even in doubles, it's still viable. I think it gets also moves like I might get Wide Guard. I'm not entirely sure, but it is a singles beast through and through. But it still can probably work in doubles. So H/ is definitely S tier. Aromatisse, no reason to pick this. I'll be honest. Again, it's just one of those weird mons which, to be honest, I forget that this Pokemon exists a lot of the time. It doesn't really offer anything. Then you got Slurpuff, who Slurpuff is actually surprisingly good. Unburden, Belly Drum, Drain Punch, Play Rough is a very fun set to play with. More importantly, it has Sticky Webs. For some reason, I still don't get it. I would still optionally pick Slurpuff over these guys. Doubles, singles, you have multiple options. Incredible coverage, physical and special side, so you can definitely make it work. So I definitely think it's like mid to low end of B, maybe even slightly higher. Then you got Malamar. Malamar's also B tier. I'm not the biggest fan of Malamar personally, but Contrary still works, still very good. Can't really complain. I don't particularly like Malamar, but it still does work. Topsy Turvy is a great move to annoy and piss people off that don't realise it and just set up all willy-nilly and don't have a care in the world. It's over, but it does suffer from a poor typing. Psychic Dark is still shit, and even with a Mega it doesn't save it, so I think B tier again is fine. Then you got Barbarical, who originally I would have said is kind of mid. It's a Shell Smasher, but it's got an awful type, therefore it goes in C tier. However, with its new Mega, I do think it could work. It does have to rely on Mega, however, so I would probably put it at like higher end of B, but it does fix it. Rock Fighting, I believe it ends up going, which is a significantly better type in. You get Close Combat Stab, you do so much damage, you still have Shell Smash, but you don't have any item, so obviously there's a payoff. But I think from a utility point of view, Meowstic as a whole is better, but you could argue that Barbarical is like high end of B, possibly low A. Then we have Dragalge. Dragalge is like, again, kind of in a similar vein to Florges, but because of the Mega, definitely got a buff, and I'd say it's naturally better anyway, with access to moves like Scald. Also has Toxic Spikes, I believe. Hazards, which is nice. Toxic to just whittle the opponent down. Adaptability is a great ability, so you can just go proper offensive as well as just loads of bulk. You have Flip Turn to get in and out, which is nice. Whirlpool to just piss Pokemon off again. But also on top of that, with this new Mega, it's like 154, 160 Spadef or something ridiculous like that, so... And with the potential for the ability like Serene Grace or Dazzling or something like that, it could be really, really good. So, it's definitely A tier, possibly going higher up. Tyrantrum is like low B tier again, unfortunately. He is really good as an offensive powerhouse in singles. You can go Choice Scarf, Head Smash, and just do considerable damage. However, he does fall off. I think in doubles he isn't as viable. People use him typically just for rocks, which is like fine. The cool sets are the offensive ones with like Dragon Dance, and it does require a couple of turns to actually have a lot of worth because you do a lot of damage, but you don't outspeed a lot of things. Rock Dragon is not the best typing in the world at all. Offensively, Rock's hitting a couple good typings, but if you have a Steel type, it's a bit of an L, especially if you are Scarfed. So I do think that Tyrantrum could be definitely higher. It is dependent on a couple of things helping Tyrantrum, maybe go with like a Tailwind or some sticky webs. But because it relies on all those things, it brings him down. You have Aurorus. I think Aurorus is in the same boat, in my opinion, as Tyrantrum. A decent Snow setter, but I would probably say that a Bomber Snow is better. I would also say that Ninetales is still one of the best ones. If Mega Froslass does get Snow on it, that's going to be the best Snow setter. Lacks from an awful typing, possibly the worst typing in the game. Has good bulk though, has a lot of health, and does have really good coverage. That's the only thing saving it. Works in doubles as like just a strong Blizzard spammer with Aurora Veil to essentially not die. Singles it can work as well. There are some cool Refrigerate sets, but you'd never optionally pick that over Snow Warning. So I think B tier, like low to mid B tier for Aurorus is the highest it's going to get unless it gets a Mega. Then we have Sylveon. Sylveon's easily A tier, in my opinion. I think it could be argued to be more higher, but with the introduction of new Megas and stuff, I do think it falls off a little bit. Really bulky. Pixelight's obviously a very fun ability. Can do a lot of damage. You can go Hyper Beam, you can go Quick Attack Priority. Except with Calm Mind, you can do a lot of stuff. Helping Hand in doubles works really well. Singles is still just as viable. But I wouldn't say it's in the same caliber of Pokemon like Greninja or Aegislash or the other Pokemon in S tier. So for that reason, I think it's fine in A tier. Holucha, I really want to put Holucha in S. I'm going to put him in S. I see Holucha used so much, even in like high OU teams, because on Burden, with Swords Dance, with his good damage like Close Combat, Brave Bird, coverage, Thunder Punch, just does so much damage. And Fight and Flying is a very good typing as well. And with its new Mega, depending on what it gets, whether it gets some offensive ability or it gets some defensive ability like Stamina, it's going to pop off. Could you argue it's lower down? Absolutely. I'm not going to though, because I do think that it does deserve that A spot. It's definitely better than Talonflame with the Talonflame nerf, so I think that that's probably like a solid spot if I move Chestnut up as well. Then we have Goodra. Goodra is pretty viable. I think it's in the same boat as Florges, personally. I think that it lacks compared to the other Pokemon of pseudo legendaries and other bulky Pokemon because it's pure Dragon type. Should have had like Water Dragon or Poison Dragon. Would have made sense. Probably would have made it a little bit higher. Good special attack, good special defense. Meh speed, like it's kind of in like a mid speed tier bracket, which is fine. And it has okay abilities. Gooey and Sapsipper are actually not bad. But in comparison to the rest of these Pokemon, especially in A tier, and even someone like Barbaracle, I think the utility isn't there as much. It has okay coverage, but even when you compare it to like Hisuian Goodra is levels better. Maybe you could argue high B, low A, but like that's the highest it could get. Then you got Klefki. Klefki's a really underrated and annoying support mon. Obviously Prankster's great. Steel Fairy, one of the best typings in the game. It's relatively bulky, and it can set up screens, it can do toxic spikes. It doesn't get Encore or anything like that, but in just ensuring that your team doesn't die, it does a very, very, very good job. It also has access to the move Magnet Rise, which means that Earthquake and no ground moves can attack your Pokemon for, I think, like 4 or 5 turns, making it very good pairing it with a Pokemon like a Metagross, for example. In the right situation, catch someone off guard, it can be very good. Then we have Trevenant. Trevenant's very solid. It's a very good physical, annoying Pokemon to play against. Will-O-Wisp, Ghost type's obviously good. Fighting's a physical type, so it kind of helps with that. Horn Leech for recovery, Leech Seed, gets bulk up. Drain Punch if you want to go offensive. Doubles, it works just as well in singles to offer that supportive role. Trevenant's relatively bulky. Doesn't have the best abilities in the world. Harvest can be very good, but it is very RNG based, so there is the element as well. So Trevenant could argue to be higher up than B tier, but I don't think I'd say it's better than Mega Barbaracle, so Avalugg is surprisingly okay. It's definitely like high end of C, low B. I won't say it's better than Dedenne. I just hate playing against Avalugg in Monotype with Hail Up and the increased defense and Body Press and Rocky Helmet, and it just doesn't die. However, it's incredibly slow. You can hit it on the special side and you'll probably be fine. So I think C tier is fine. Maybe you could argue low B, but look, so I'm putting him in C tier. Then we have Xerneas. S tier. Do I even need to say anything else? Possibly one of the most broken setup moves of all time. A good typing in pure fairy. Amazing coverage. Base stat of a box art. Because it is a box art, it's just possibly one of the most broken Pokemon. It's always in Ubers. Geomancy is normally banned in most formats. Fairy Aura to essentially just give it extra adaptability, Fairy Stab. Xerneas is easily one of the best Pokemon in this game. Yveltal's also incredibly broken. One of the most disgusting signature moves with Oblivion Wing. I feel like it used to do more damage. I feel like it wasn't always 80 base power. It is now, I'm pretty sure. But it's fine. Still has a good recovery. Dark Aura is obviously mint. You can go special and still have Sucker Punch and it do really good damage. I can't say much else. It just does a lot of damage, doesn't die, and is incredibly quick. That's what kind of has it over Xerneas, but Xerneas is still a better Pokemon. Then you got Zygarde. Now, I'd be inclined to put both of these in S tier. It's still easily S tier. Because this percent of Zygarde, this is 70%, I think. Incredibly bulky. Very good health stat. Dragon Ground is a good typing still. I do think that this does rely somewhat on the 100% form and then obviously the Mega that comes out. But because of how good that Mega is, it's easily S tier still. And then the dog is also still really good. It's still used a lot in singles. Compared to doubles, it's not as good. But because you have your incredible signature moves, you do significant damage, you get E-speed. Most people run just choice band and kill things, so I think you could easily say you're like high S tier. Maybe I'll move these guys down now that I'm thinking about it. Then you've got Diancie. Diancie's easily S tier. Possibly the best and my favourite Trick Room setter in all of Pokemon. Such a good kit, right? You can go the Mega, you can go super quick, you got Magic Bounce, you can do loads of damage. With doubles, with Trick Room, with Diamond Storm, Body Press, Moonblast. It's so fun, does so much damage. You also get moves like After You, so you can have quick Pokemon work in Trick Room teams and get loads of good kills. Obviously it does leave Diancie susceptible to damage, but because of its incredible bulk, it just won't die. Obviously quad weakness to steel is a big thing, but Terra exists and you can just avoid that. Obviously with Champions coming out, be interested to see how good Diancie still is if it's in Champions, whether or not they allow sub-legendaries and mythicals in for the first couple of months. But in terms of Gen 6 alone, it's definitely easily S tier. Hooper bound form, in my opinion, is like high B tier. Like it, unfortunately, again, Psychic Ghost isn't the best typing in the world. You have the quad weakness, you have 2 immunities though. Especially, it can do a lot of damage. Doesn't have the best physical defense in the world. I can't really put it higher than B. Like, I wouldn't really optionally pick Hooper over these Pokemon from a utility standpoint, and I do think that some of these Pokemon are better. You could definitely argue Hooper bounded is higher. It does have good special attack and special defense and relatively okay speed, but in comparison to its Unbound form, Hooper Unbound is cracked. Again, not a good type, but the stat spread: 170 special attack, 160 attack, 130 special defense, does have bad defense granted, and has a 80 speed stat, which is kind of mid. Who gives a shit? This thing is still doing significant damage. Then you have, I believe, the final one of Volcanion, who is still, in my opinion, A tier. Easily very viable. Water, fire, amazing type. Has water absorb, so it has an immunity. Really good coverage. You have the Will-O-Wisp. You also get Defog to get rid of hazards. You can go Assault Vest, you can go Boots. In doubles, it works well. Put me in the Sun team. Has a really good signature move in Steam Eruption, which I think essentially is just a better version of Scald. And has the bulk and the okay speed to be used in whatever way that you really want to. You can go like full offense with a bit of speed, you can go bulk, you can go slow offense, you can go support. He has so much to his bag that I think he has to be at least A tier. You can maybe argue slightly higher, but I wouldn't pick him above any of these guys. And that's it. We've got to decide an F tier, definitive worst Pokemon from this region. And then we've got a top 5. Furfrou has Fluffy, has more utility in doubles with moves like Snarl. Romantis can block Encore, which also is really good, but that's significantly more niche. Snarl is just generally more useful. You also have better coverage, you get moves like Thunderwave still. Romantis is probably slightly better stat distribution, but you're definitely slower. Typing is definitely better. So for that reason, Aromatisse is definitive F tier, the worst Pokemon from Gen 6. But with that being said, obviously now we've got to do the top 5. This is going to be an interesting one. So, time for top 5. After further consideration, I think I'm happy with it now. I kind of went over more and more Mons in my head for the top 5. Some people may be upset with this top 5. I don't really have a choice, right? The Pokemon in this top 5 are significantly better, partially based on the fact that they just have significantly better stats. Honorable mention for just the rest of the Pokemon in S tier. All of them have their own utility, but they just don't match up to the upper echelon. So with that being said, 5th is Aegislash. Aegislash is such a reliable Pokemon to have as a physical special wall. Offensively, you can hit well. Obviously, when you go into the offensive form, your defenses are vulnerable. But the idea is that you set up, get to a point where you can just do the damage, kill Pokemon, and then not die. You have priority with Shadow Sneak. It then doesn't become an issue. But because you have so much in your kit as an Aegislash, and even in doubles it works fine as well, it's too hard to not put this Pokemon in top 5. Then we have Hooper Unbound. Offensively, this thing is just too good. Physically, especially, you don't require any setup because you just do too much damage. You can go Scarfed and just outspeed things and not have to worry about the mid-speed stat. Your coverage is insane. Purely based on that, it does make it better than someone like a Greninja. And then I'm going Yveltal. Yveltal is just incredibly bulky. I think you could make a case for Yveltal to go second and this other Pokemon that's in second to go third. You have okay enough coverage. You don't really need coverage on Yveltal because Dark Aura just enhances damage so much you Dark Boost, and then you have Oblivion Wing for recovery. Roost if you need it. Sucker Punch for priority. You stick him in a doubles team with someone support like Smiggle using Decorate. It's just going to sweep. I can't say much else other than Yveltal is just amazing. Second, I put Zygarde. That's who I think could be debated either way. The reason why I put him in second is because his stats in his new Mega form. 216 HP and special attack. I mean, what the fuck? Imagine that in doubles team with a Tailwind Mon. This thing is just going to sweep. It's going to do so much damage. It's not going to die. If there is a way that he naturally increases his speed, it's going to be even better. I can't not put Zygarde 100% form as well as 70% form, because 70% form turns into 100% form in second. And finally, I think it's pretty obvious. It is Xerneas. Xerneas is easily the most consistent Pokemon to be incredible. Geomancy is too good to not put it in first. It is better than Zygarde and Yveltal. It has much better coverage. The recovery, the setup with Geomancy is much better than any of them. You could argue the only thing it lacks is a slightly worse typing and slightly worse recovery. It doesn't matter. He's bulky enough that he can just get set up, kill things, and just win. And it typically is the one that's banned the most in higher formats as well, compared to these two. But with that being said, you could maybe make a case for these to be moved around. I think these two are pretty solid in their own spot. These three are easily S tier, regular Zygarde, Dog, Greninja, and Diancie. But I don't think they're better than Aegislash. One thing I will say about Gen 6 is that the higher end is very good, but then it just does fall off significantly. But that being said, it doesn't really matter. That is my tier list. I'm happy with it. I think the placement of each of these ones are pretty good. Please do comment down below what your standpoint on this is and your ranking and where you would put certain Pokemon, where you would move them. If you would have a completely different top 5 or you would keep it the exact same. But with that being said, I hope you did enjoy. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow my Instagram, Slowbro, and I'll see you in the next one.